Welcome everyone to this presentation on understanding the Competency and Values Framework, or also known as the CVF. This framework is used across policing to ensure fairness, consistency and professionalism in recruitment, development and performance assessment. This is the framework we use at interview stage to assess applicants on behaviours and values. So, what is the CVF? The Competency and Values Framework, or CVF, was developed by the College of Policing as a national framework for assessing behaviour, skills and attitudes in policing roles, including both officers and staff. It ensures that staff at all levels work in a way that reflects policing's core values and competencies. This means that when recruiting new staff, we don't just look at their skills and experience, we also assess how well they align with these values and competencies. There are 3 levels of competency. Each level applies to competencies only, not values. We will go through the values, competencies and levels in later slides. The CVF outlines 6 key competencies. These define how staff should behave in their roles. We are innovative and open-minded. We are emotionally aware. We take ownership. We collaborate. We support and inspire. We analyse critically. These competencies are assessed against during interview and help us assess whether someone has the right mindset and behaviours to succeed in a role. The CVF is built around 3 key values that define professional behaviour in policing aligned to the Code of Ethics. These values are respect and empathy. Act with respect, listen to and understand different perspectives. Understand impact of emotions and welfare. Respond to individual needs. Be fair and impartial. Public service. Deliver service to be proud of. Act lawfully. Understand and respond to the public needs. Reflect on and apply knowledge, improving ourself, peers and profession. Courage. Take responsibility. Set an example. Challenge unprofessional behaviour and practice. Be honest, open and accountable. Encourage feedback and scrutiny. When recruiting staff, we assess how well a candidate demonstrates these values in their behaviour and decision-making. Each CVF competency is described at 3 levels which reflect increasing complexity of behaviours. Behaviours tend to become more complex at more senior levels in the organisation. These levels are cumulative. This means that those working in higher levels should have built on their behaviours from the preceding levels. Although the levels broadly relate to role functions across the organisation, they can be applied flexibly as required. For example, administrator role would be level 1 practitioner, but the police staff investigator is the same level as they don't line manage. Level 2 is normally for those more senior roles and if they line manage. Level 3 is for head of department roles or more strategic roles within the organisation. The CVF level is stated on the role profile or job description for the role you're applying for. At interview, you would be assessed against that specific level. To ensure candidates are competent for the role, shortlisting will continue to be against the skills, knowledge, experience and qualifications required for the role as detailed on the role profile or job description. The second stage selection will then ensure candidates demonstrate the values and behaviours required. In interviews, we use competency-based questions. These assess a candidate's past behaviour in specific situations. Values-based questions. These evaluate how well a candidate aligns with policing values. Scenario-based questions. These test decision-making and ethical judgment in workplace scenarios. Interview questions and/or assessments will be based on competencies listed appropriate for the level. There will be a minimum of 4 questions to a maximum of 6, of which 1 to 3 questions will be based on values. values now play an important part in recruitment, assessment, and selection. During recruitment interviews and assessments for selection, candidates should demonstrate how they apply the three values in their work, as well as how they demonstrate the competencies. Here are some examples of the types of questions we use in CVF-based interviews. Competency-based. Describe a time when you worked collaboratively to solve a problem. What was your role and what was the outcome? Value-based. How do you ensure impartiality when working with different groups of people? Scenario-based. A colleague is behaving unethically. What would you do? That is aligned to a competency or value. These questions allow us to assess not just what a candidate says, but how they think and act in practice. So, all you need to do now to prepare for your interview by referring to the correct level of the CVF, which will be detailed on the job description or your role profile for the job you're applying for. Think about your own values and the three CVF values and how they may intertwine into an example. You can use a recruitment model such as STAR to help you prepare. Here is an example of using STAR for We are emotionally aware. Situation. I was in a team meeting where a colleague challenged my ideas. Task. I needed to respond constructively and stay engaged in the discussion. Action. I felt I needed to address how they made me feel, so I decided to speak to my colleague after the meeting so that we could have a face-to-face conversation without involving others. Result. My colleague apologised for putting me on the spot, and we discussed and agreed how we would both provide each other with constructive feedback going forward. This set a standard of expectation and improved our working relationship in a professional manner. Practice your examples. Speak to someone or ask them to ask you questions. You will be given time to review the interview questions on the day of your interview, ahead of the interview commencing. During this time, you're permitted to take notes which you can take into the interview for reference. This allocated time is 2 minutes per question. For example, for 6 questions, 12 minutes would be provided. This preparation period will help you align the examples you have prepared to the question being asked. Good luck with your interview.